Drug smuggling is a global illicit trade involving the cultivation, manufacture, distribution, and sale of illegal substances such as heroin, cocaine, marijuana, and many other prohibited drugs. Drug smuggling has been on the rise for quite a long time, primarily because of the lucrative return on investment. Lots of these unlawful activities happening around the clock have gone unnoticed even when there is a big investigation. Smuggled substances may vary from minor quantities, such as in grams and single-digit kilograms, to enormously alarming quantities, involving tonnage of contraband items of $1 million worth. Whether minor or major, this kind of activity is considered a national and international threat. However, border control and other government agencies are always on the run for the syndicates, operating behind the issues unless they intentionally turn a blind eye due to various other illegal reasons. The police in most countries take drug-related crimes extremely serious. They often keep their operations quiet to prevent raising awareness of their findings and techniques. However, some of the illicit drug seizures have been so huge that they've made it into the headlines, stirring the public's curiosity and interest. Let us begin our countdown. Number 14. Colombia 2016. $240 million worth, or 8.8 tons of cocaine had been seized by the Colombian authorities. The drugs were discovered in an underground hole at a banana farm in the Caribbean town of Turbo, which is less than 300 miles from Bogota, the capital of Colombia. The cocaine was concealed in 359 bags and is one of the largest drug seizures in the country. Number 13. Saudi Arabia 2014. 22.6 million of amphetamine pills valued at $267 million in a massive drug bust. 6 people were arrested after they attempted to smuggle amphetamine pills into the kingdom. They had hidden the pills inside rolls of plastic and coils of barbed wire, which obviously drew more attention in the first place. Number 12. Australia 2008. 4.4 tons of MDMA, widely known as ecstasy or Molly, valued at $309 million, had been seized by the Australian authorities and is considered one of the biggest ecstasy seizures in history. Australian Federal Police stung an ecstasy supplier based in Melbourne. The drugs were imported from Italy inside 3,000 cans of tomatoes. Number 11. Colombia 2017. 12 tons of cocaine worth $360 million were seized from the underground of 4 different farms in Antioch province. This operation was made through the combined efforts of local forces and international intelligence. Number 10. Afghanistan 2008. 260 tons of hashish, a dry herb, hay, usually cannabis or marijuana, valued at $376 million, were seized in underground military trenches and bunkers in Afghanistan. Just for you to imagine how huge the volume was, just think about the weight of 30 double-decker buses. The authorities, saving the time to remove the stash, opted to call in an airstrike to destroy the trenches and bunkers, as this would definitely destroy the drugs as well. Number 9. Pacific Ocean 2016. 14 tons of cocaine valued at $400 million were seized by the United States Coast Guard with the help of land-based authorities in the Eastern Pacific Ocean. Number 8. United Kingdom 2015. $697 million worth of 3.2 tons of cocaine were seized in the UK's biggest haul. This resulted in the arrest of 2 Turkish men who later both pleaded guilty to attempting to smuggle the substance. Number 7. Texas 1989. 14 tons of cocaine with a street value of $1 billion were seized by the Texan authorities. They conducted a double bust. The first was the ship off the Texas coast where they found 5 tons of cocaine on board. On the same day, 9 more tons were found in the house of a suspected drug kingpin. It was also believed that the cocaine originated from Colombia. The operation was considered one of the most successful seizures in the history of the United States. Number 6. Australia 2014. 2.8 tons of amphetamines and MDMA, widely known as ecstasy or Molly with a street value of $1.5 billion, were seized from a sea cargo container that originated from Hamburg, Germany. MDMA and amphetamines are two of the most popular drugs in Australia and are taken by partygoers and ravers in an attempt to enhance their experience. Number 5. Turkey 2010. 30 tons of Captagon, or a highly addictive type of amphetamine valued at $1.6 million, were seized by the Turkish authorities. This drug is commonly known as a jihad pill. Land-based forces in the United States Coast Guard were the ones responsible for this seizure, since the drugs originated from overseas and arrived by boat. There were enough ingredients to create approximately 200 million tablets, which are psychostimulants. Number 4. Pablo Escobar seizures, 1984. 14 tons of cocaine with a street value of $2.2 billion were seized by the DEA. Pablo Escobar, one of the biggest drug kingpins in history, was earning millions of dollars every day at the height of his power. About half of his cocaine was supplied to the United States, which allowed him to earn a high income. To hunt down and seize the drugs, the DEA used tracking devices on the raw materials belonging to the kingpin. The operation was considered a small dent in Pablo Escobar's yearly income, which was estimated to be $25 million. Number 3. San Francisco 1991. 1,059 pounds of China white heroin contained in 59 boxes, which arrived in the Bay Area from Thailand, with a street value of $5 billion, were seized by the authorities in one of the biggest hauls of heroin in San Francisco. The operation was too huge not to be socialized. It was witnessed by television crews and even has TV footage. It was estimated that the haul was equivalent to 5% of the heroin produced in the world in 1991. That's how huge the seizure was. Number 2. California 1989. 21 tons of cocaine valued at $13 billion were seized from a warehouse belonging to Rafael Munoz Talavera. This was small change compared to the 77 tons that passed through the warehouse the year before, but large enough to break records. Just to give you an idea of how huge the volume was, just think about this. The quantity is enough for every single resident of the United States to enjoy 5 lines of cocaine, and the transportation costs alone for trafficking was around $81 million. In addition to the haul of cocaine, police also seized $12 million in cash. Number 1. Afghanistan 2009. 92 tons of opium and poppy seeds were seized in one of the biggest fundraising activities for terrorist groups such as the Taliban. Believe it or not, the authorities were not able to even estimate the street value of the seizure. It was so huge that it was considered priceless. It was believed that 90% of the opium in the world originates from Afghanistan. The Afghan force claimed that they had difficulty putting a price on the value of these drugs. However, they considered it a triumph in both the war on drugs and the war on terrorism. It was credited as the biggest drug seizure ever conducted by the Afghan forces, though the operation was considered a failure and uncoordinated by some because of the loss of 60 members of the Afghan forces. These world's biggest drug seizures signify two things. Drugs are everywhere, and some good souls are always on guard to prevent it. Whatever the volume or quantity of illegal substances those drug smugglers would attempt to smuggle, the real heroes of the world would find a way to stop the cycle. Be one of them. What do you think of our video today? Let us know.